Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you this
I'm
morning?
well. I'm
My
well.
name is Sarah Gergel, and I work with the Living Archives Project, where we are collecting stories of how COVID 19 impacted various communities in Charlotte Mecklenburg County. Today is May 3rd,
Mhm.
2023, and this week there were 55 reported cases of COVID 19 in the Charlotte Mecklenburg County area, which actually shows a 43% decrease over the last 2 weeks. Therefore, each subject is comfortable not wearing a mask this morning.
Great.
Renee, would you introduce yourself?
Hi, good morning. My name is Renée Warner. My official name is Frida Renée Warner. I am a Charlottean. I am work, live, play in Charlotte, North Carolina. I'm originally from Virginia, so not far, but still in this corridor. Um, my stature and physical attributes, I am African American. I identify as black and a female. I am pretty tall for most people, I believe. I'm 5'9" and a half. I think I've shrunk some. Um, I am, I feel medium build and probably the, the type that needs to do a little bit more exercise, one for my health and cardio, but to feel better and be able to buckle my shoes. Um, and I have I have two children. So I'm a single parent right now. We'll get to probably some of the interesting things that have happened to me, but not by choice. I am really learning to take care of my family and do all the other things that people do to live and feel good about their lives. I am a director of a transitional jobs program. So I hire folks that have barriers to employment. And so that's kind of my claim to fame and my passion. I finally landed in this place where I can help individuals be better. So I just wake up every day to help people find their best selves and to live their best lives. And that includes my children. And we hurry around and I fuss at them more. I should probably treat the people I hire better than I treat the children. So that's me in a little bit of a nutshell.
That's amazing. Well, thank
Yes.
you so much for sharing, Renee.
Yes.
So, you said you have two kids.
I have two
And
children.
what are their ages?
They are 16. My pride, both of them, my pride and joy. But I have a boy and a girl, so
Are
both
they
of them are my
twins?
favorite. No, they're
Oh,
16 and 13
16 and
right now.
13.
Yes, my son is 13.
Wow.
But she's my favorite girl and he's my favorite boy.
Oh,
Oh,
I
yes.
love that so
Yeah,
much. That's
that's
amazing.
amazing.
And for work, so that's how I met you while
Hmm.
you were working on your job. What do you do for work?
I am actually, I go around a lot to find people in the community who have a barrier to employment. And so we can hire them for a temporary role where they learn some, skills, customer service skills, some, soft skills dealing with the public and just building. It could be computer skills, what have you. So when I was at International House at that festival and um, whatever, I forgot what it was called, but that type of event where I'm trying to meet people and wanting to share what we do. I hire for our OTC store. So we have a free store in the south part of Charlotte where people can come if as long as they're a North Carolina resident, they can get medicine, over the counter meds, just like you would find in Walgreens or CVS.
It's
It's
amazing.
absolutely free. We love, love, love it. Our hearts are in it. We make decisions with our hearts to help people get all the medicine they need. If you're on that wavelength of that school of thought that medicine can help people, we are trying to help folks, trying to reduce emergency room visits where people can take a Tylenol and not have to use the emergency room for
Yeah,
even infants. We have children's medicine, adults, pain creams, and cold medicines and
it's amazing. Allergy medicine.
allergy medicines. There is
Especially with
perfect
this
today.
season.
I know. Wish I had done that. I wish I had said that. So yeah, that's yeah, we have durable medical equipment and different things like that.
Oh,
So it's really
wow.
interesting. We meet tons of people. We are a nonprofit. The claim to fame for our organization though is our free prescriptions. We also have a prescription program.
No
However, I'm not
way.
a pharmacist, but I can
Yeah.
definitely tell you a little bit about some of that.
Yeah.
So yeah, we serve all of North Carolina, folks who don't have any insurance whatsoever right now.
Okay.
And as you can imagine, the Medicaid expansion just happened, so we don't know really where we're going. We're happy that happened because it's going to pull in about 200,000 people who were pretty much struggling. So North Carolina's a little late doing that, but we have that option, and that may change our service model. But for right now, we do only serve folks who have who don't have any other option for insurance.
That's amazing.
Yeah,
and how long have you been working with Nemesis?
I've been there 5 years, so I started in 2017. Yes.
Wow. And what would you say? I know you probably don't know this off the top of your head, but if you do, that's awesome. How many clientele do you guys generally serve?
Yeah, I kind of know a general. We do about 16 to 19,000 prescription patients, and so they have multiple prescriptions, of course. So some people take 2 or 3. So I'm not sure what the medication count is, but they dispense that feverishly every day. We have two. Yeah, we have 2 robots. So the 16,000 is a month. I'm sorry.
Yes, okay.
And then every day, we have 2 robots that are like, the pills are set in. We do have to have pharmacists that oversee that, but it bottles it, caps it, puts the label on, and they can do about 1,000 a day.
That's
with
amazing.
0 error, because we have only about 4 pharmacists and 5 farm techs.
Okay.
So that's in our pharmacy. I'm in there high and by, but I know all about it because it's really amazing.
That's really cool. I've never heard of that before.
Yes, you have to come down.
I do have
and anybody who sees this needs to come.
Yes. Oh my gosh, yes, I will be. I will be coming soon. And that all of that is completely free as long as you qualify.
Absolutely.
That's amazing.
So prescription is a little bit more rigorous, of course. One, they have to have a health home, so we can kind of help them. We have a social work team that works with them on getting the enrollment process. But of course, emergency room can write a prescription. We just have to have a prescription to fill. So they send it. It's just like normal. We can get it e-scribed in. We get tons of fax or e-scribes a day. And there's an income requirement. We want to try to serve the folks with the highest need. The store, on the other hand, where I hire people for the over-the-counter portion, anyone can shop in there as long as you're a North Carolina resident. We just ask for some valid ID, picture ID, so that we can keep track of folks who are coming in. We allow shopping I hate to say we allow, but we have to manage the medicine and ration it out. But we have people shop every 30 days. We make decisions with our hearts too. So I always say, like, if someone comes in and wants yeast infection cream, we don't say, you got to come back in 3 weeks, you're too early. So, and if someone comes from South Carolina, Rock Hill, and they're like, oh, I work up here and I heard da-da-da, we let them shop one time at least, but we can educate them that it's really for North Carolina residents. But we're bound by those parameters from where we get our medicine. Pharmaceutical companies give us free meds, and then our main partner here is Second Harvest Food Bank. So maybe you'll get some interviews from someone there, but they're a great partner. They give us all the medicine they get through Feeding America, so they do food and they don't want liability for medicine. So we're like, hey, we got it. We know the people who need the medicine. We'll get it out.
Oh my gosh.
I love it, love it, love it.
That's amazing, and it meets such an important need.
Oh yes, absolutely.
Such an important
That's
need.
where I feel. I mean, that's where that essential. When we get to this talk where we worked throughout, I never took off.
Let's dive deep in that. How did COVID-19 impact your job and all of that?
I want to say the first day when we were in a meeting, you heard a bunch of things kind of, in the news and what have you, but we were still kind of plugging away, working. But we had a meeting, pulled kind of quick meeting to say we need to close because we don't know what's out here, what's happening. And again, that OTC store is public. People would come in. We never had a maximum number of folks. Like, everything had to change. So I remember going from the meeting, like leaving early. They were like, Renee, you need to go close the store. And I went and kind of held the door. Now, I'm dramatic, so I feel like I was pulling the door. I know I wasn't, but people were standing there like, we wanted to come shop today. And I'm like, I'm so sorry because of the COVID, we were like the COVID, or we didn't know, but COVID is, right now we have to regroup and figure out. We will reopen. We don't know at what point, but I'm so sorry. I just have to kind of close for right now to keep everyone safe as possible. I don't remember. I don't think we were wearing masks at that point, but so it changed the model of the store. We closed, had to regroup. I just remember making my own kind of signage to try to serve curbside, but we closed down to get our everything, redone. I made some signs to ask people to help us, not touch everything, kind of know what you want, and just because we're in there in a store with millions of bottles, so we couldn't clean all that every day. I was wiping my groceries down and things like that, but when that switched, we had everybody. The service went to outside, so curbside only.
Okay.
Um, Here I am, like little things I was doing. I was taking notes from like the even Dunkin' Donuts and other places that were putting up curbside. So we were like, oh, we can do our sign like that, or we can, because I don't really have that background, so we kind of had to make it up. Um, and then we came up. I guess there was a task force formed at work. I was on that because I managed the store and the warehouse at that time. We shut down from volunteers coming in. I should have mentioned we can't do it without volunteer help. We have a kind of a large warehouse and a lot of medicine in there. We have to get it sorted. So volunteers were coming in, touching everything. It just became anytime people touched something, we were cringing because we were like, we gotta go clean that. And then I'm just rambling kind of. I'm just thinking through what was happening. Pharmacy, they could still work. We're mail order, so most everything went out in the mail for that. But our side was haywire. From learning how the medical community washes their hands in every room, from room to room, changing gloves from room to room, things like that. So we had a lot of talks. We have a lot of support from Atrium Health at work, so they would help us out with some of the information on how to manage and cleanliness and all that. And just going to work, we got our letter. I'll skip up to the essential letter that we can drive because everybody else was kind of shut down. I think people, I vividly remember some seniors that volunteered with us calling saying, we're not coming. They stopped. All of our consistent, volunteers that loved on us were like, not coming. We had some clients and coaches, some of the folks who might have that learned differently, and they would come in with their coaches, but if they were in a residential facility, they couldn't come out. And we kind of said, no, we don't want you to come either, because they're in a, what do you call that? Like a group living situation. And that, it was kind of crazy like that for a while. I was going home, and I mean, that's going home life, but I would go home and I'd have to stop. I couldn't hug my kids. The school issue that shut down, and they were sent home, and I had a few workers that had children and could not work because we were essential, and then her kids are at home. So I had a single mother. I remember we were like, what is she gonna do? She had to go home with them. They were elementary age, and then a baby, and she couldn't work. And so for us, thankfully at work, COVID pay, we had a great accounting person who kind of kept up with all this. And so they had COVID money funding started to come through. And so we could pay some folks that had to go home with the kids. And it was sort of, I'm not sure all the details of that, but that was one issue, because my goal in my job is to help people build financially, and we want to pay them. And then when they were it's no work, no pay. It's an hourly wage. So for her to go home, she couldn't work. And I was like, I can't send anything home because it's personal identifying information on everything we have, and we don't know how you can help at home. And so we were able to kind of help her out to stay home for a little bit. And then the child care, we were helping employees try to find child care so they could work because they were essential. At the time, my husband was working, and he worked for the city of Charlotte. And he's pretty up there, where enough supervisory wise where he had to work and figure out what to do. But once they got settled, he was off 1 week or 2 weeks and in 1 week, so they kind of staggered. We never staggered at our job, but so my kids were able to stay home with him, as he kind of went stir crazy about staying home because he was a busy body, always doing. But I think I'm trying to think. That was kind of the gist of how. I'll see if I wrote anything about work. From everything, I guess, moving to buying signage for when we moved into where we can manage COVID. We'll do 6 people at a time in the store. we wanted to not go over 10. And so with maybe a couple of volunteers, we would have 6 customers come in, 2 people kind of working, maybe a volunteer helping us out back and forth. So we just went through it with that. The knowledge and not trusting and not, I should mention, so we had with work, some of the office folks could work from home, but we still had to work. So social workers, they work from home. Our development, which is a big deal for a nonprofit, we raise money. So they work from home, but it started to be a little animosity. Not bad, because we all have big hearts, but it was little things I noticed. People would go, like, we're in here all the time, like, and some people would get to work from home, and it was just unheard of, kind of. But we liked having, like, chill time at work, like, the break room. It's only about 40 people anyway, 38, 40 at that time. And then it came down to just our store and the pharmacy. And there's maybe 10 or 12 in there.
Okay.
So it was so quiet, and we didn't have to fight for the microwaves, and we kept to ourselves. We used to kind of share medicine, because we were medicine. We had a medicine cabinet instead of a Coke machine, right?
Yeah.
So, but we would have, like, indigestion, what do you call it, like a omeprazole or something for indigestion, and Tylenol will be in there and some things, but people stopped using shared medicine at that point. So that was a little change I noticed.
Did you notice, in terms of the clientele that you served, did you notice that the numbers went up, increased during COVID, or did they stay the same, or did they decrease?
So for the store, I think we all, across the board, it decreased.
Okay.
The store, particularly,
it's really surprising to me. I don't know why. I would assume that it would have increased.
I will tell you,
but
with us, the store, our clientele were mostly seniors, and they were the ones, like, not coming out. Even though we went to a service model where we were curbside, people had to kind of get it first, and then they would, some people wouldn't venture out, just fear of just, you never know, it was airborne, and that was where we were. We didn't know where we were getting it from. So, and especially the older folks were kind of, they just didn't trust anything. So our clients usually, or customers, wouldn't come out at all. We did find where people would come out and shop for them. So we had a model where people would have to show their own ID, and you have to shop yourself. We had very few people that were, like, homebound, but we just could not service those folks. But we had to turn around and try to service seniors, because they were our base for the client base, and they really felt like they needed the medicine. There were a lot of supplements. We have a lot of medicine. We have a lot of, vitamins and supplements. Vitamin C was so huge. We had to get it out, and we had a lot. So we could not say, you have to be present to win. We're going to give it to you if your daughter wants to come and, get medicine for seniors, and we let them do that. We had a lot of zinc. Zinc was a big deal at one point. People were talking about, oh, you need to be taking vitamin D, and you need to be taking, and then we had a lot of hand sanitizer, and then we had none. And it was so, I can't remember how it went, but, and then we turned back to have tons of hand sanitizer, and even now people are offering it. I know some of the atrium, and there's a warehouse somewhere that has, they can't believe how much. My boss went to see, and she's like, they have so much, like, it's gonna go to waste. So, everybody was making hand sanitizer. Breweries, we did some type of, like, a grant request for a brewery that had some hand sanitizer coming out looking like a beer bottle or something. But we were just like, it's crazy. But the people started not coming for fear. And then we'd get requests from, like, Atrium Health, who were opening a COVID relief, like, wing, or not hospital, but a residential area. I think they were turning something into this COVID, like, recovery center. Okay. And they'd ask us for, all we could have, the cold medicine, all the things that can kind of help people along that path, not little, but absolutely bananas.
So now let's kind of shift. So before we started this incredible interview, we did an activity together called a hand map.
Yeah.
Is there anything that you would like to share from your hand map?
What sticks out to me is,
and if you want to pick it up, you can do that.
Well, yeah, I see the hand map, the middle three lines, like the palm reading, I wrote career changes, parenthood, and then single parenthood. So that's sharing what happened to me during during COVID. Is so odd, or not happened to me, did happen to us. But um, we always think about all these things that we never talked about. Terrorists. I've been married for a while. I was married for a while, and so we talked about terrorists from 2000, and we had the snipers, like these words we never talked about. Pandemic came up, and I was thinking, my husband and I were like, this is another thing that we are going through. Like, we never thought we would be going through all these life world changes and different things like that. But so pandemic came, and like I said, he was home kind of going stir crazy. He was avid recreational basketball player, and he coached my son's team every age, and I was just so crazy with COVID because I could see him like antsy. He couldn't do much. Basketball's a contact sport. Couldn't go to gyms. Couldn't work out. Gyms were closing. So we, kind of tackled parenthood together most of that time. But during COVID, in actually 2020, the height of everything, he passed. So we lost my husband. And it wasn't due to COVID. So, yes. Yeah. I'm really okay about it now, because we're doing good. That's why it switched from parenthood to single parenthood, because it threw me for a loop. A man, I felt young man. He was 46 and just was very healthy. Took charge of his health in every way that I knew of, and he passed in his sleep. And I hear all these things. It didn't help me before, but they say angels pass in their sleep and all that. I'm just like, whatever. But, I wanted him there. So he passed during COVID, which really jarred my family, because the kids were already virtual at home, and I saw their personalities kind of changing because they're behind the camera. They don't want to turn the camera on, or, just odd, feeling uncomfortable. How do you get to know your teachers? And my husband's there, but he's really not there. I feel, Lord God bless me or forgive me for like fussing at him about, you're not really paying attention to them. I have to be at work. We had a lot of little challenges right before, but he was really all around amazing. Like, really, he was amazing. It showed this arc that I wrote of the people that supported us during COVID. I have to say, during our grieving, and we still are, but we had that. We had people over our home, where it's really hard to do when COVID is, happening. So my good friends made a little note on the door to say, like, a few at a time, and don't kind of overstay your welcome. But our culture, we like people come and sit at your house, and it's kind of odd. And then I even had to have someone clean up for us, because after people are in and out, we got to have somebody clean the bathroom, and I wasn't up for it. And but we had so much. It just spoke to his personality and his connections, our connections. We had our church members. We have home churches from Virginia, so we had 2 different home churches support us. We had our colleges. We went to 2 different colleges. So our friends, I have a sorority members, and my sorority supported me. He played basketball, and the basketball teams from his college supported us. We had so much. Our church here, the kids, they were in the mission group and in the choir, and they brought the kids like big baskets of stuff. The basketball team, they did a visual. I mean, it was so much. And then again, I mentioned he worked for the city, so they did a parade by our house because they couldn't love on us. That came about during COVID. People doing graduation parades, and this was I don't know, just a memory. In memory of him, they brought almost every vehicle that the city could have had. Now, he was a graphic artist. He was over the team that did the signs, and then he was over the loops and folks that did put loops in the street, like the electrical, make the light change. So he had a large team. But this day, everyone from they called them bucket boys, the ones that went up to the light line poles, to the lines in the street, all the representation of the city, trucks came through, and some of them had big signs because they made signs. And they had signs out. And I'm telling you, the bigger thing I saw through COVID with this was that so many men that usually don't show their feelings shared with me just they loved him, and they cried. It was amazing. I just thought, you don't know, he thought y'all were mad at him. Just like, maybe, I don't know, remember 2-3 days before, he's like, oh, they hate me at work, because he was a stickler for not crowding the lockers. They're that type of group. Was they come in and have lockers and not really desk space and office space, but he would like be on them, and he'd be like a little, I don't know, maybe a little bit too much of a warden, but he was very like that. He hadn't even been in the military, but he was so good. And I just wish I know he knows now, but I'm like, y'all, he just thought he was getting on y'all's nerves and all that, but they just loved him. It's like he was so much of a light and a good example, and yeah, he was amazing. And now, when I say single parenthood, here I am having to manage his car, my car, and he had a truck, and just even the thermostat. I'm like, he used to tell me, he used to draw stuff for me, because he was an artist, but he could freehand and draw. We have art in our house that he painted. And he's like, see, look, he got this right here and these 3 lines, and I'm just like, just fix it, And now a little bit stuck, but I'm like, I should have been listening. Yeah. I'm not gonna cry on this camera, but he was awesome. If anybody, his name was Renée Warner the second, and he was, not many like him. He was a country boy. We both were from rural areas, and so we've been here for 20-something years. And the house is his pride and joy, and our family. He did everything, a lot for us, more than I knew at the time. Little things, chasing moles out of the yard. Like, I have to do that now. So, and I have to take kids on vacation, and I have to pay attention. Whereas he did that. He was the one that's like, I did it, but he was really the one, going to bed early because he's going to drive us back the next day, and I could sleep all the way home, and now I got to drive back, and I have to be the one saying, we got to go in early because we're leaving tomorrow. But he saw a little bit of COVID and felt a little bit of that. Now, I say not due to COVID. For us, the grieving just extended that first initial part, because they couldn't tell us what happened for months. He passed in September, and that was excruciating. We had this, first we had to get the funeral dates, because it was longer than I thought. It was like over a week before we can get a date, because so many funerals.
What year was this?
2020.
Oh, so it was right at the height of the pandemic. Wow.
Yeah, so we, and then I didn't know if it was, did they think it's COVID? Like, what? I don't know what the process was for the autopsy, whatever they do. I guess not autopsy, but they didn't give us a reason. And until, I want to say, was it the end of March into April? Yeah, the end of March. And that's me still having to call and still having to wonder. Yeah. I'm just like, and then my son, who he would say, my husband was home, and I called. So the fire truck, firefighters were the first responder, and my son kept asking weeks after, like, did the firemen tell you what happened to Dad? Did the firemen, because he thought they were the ones to know, and he's old enough, but I guess it was just stuck to us, stuck in differently. And I do want to mention, I didn't write it down, but it's bringing me to this. The racial unrest was happening too, and so even before he was gone, I would worry about him being a black man. He was African American, so, and I would worry about him having pent up energy, because we were back and forth. He couldn't really work. He couldn't work with his hands and do what he needed to do, and so I would worry about just him flying off the handle with the wrong police officer. It was so sad that I had to think about that when we called, when I called them and the ambulance came, and then police officers came, and I panicked so badly, because I was calling my girlfriend. I was like, somebody's got to be here, because the police are here, and I just don't want them to misjudge the situation or not. I just didn't know, and I thought, this sucks eggs to be thinking about my son, and the police are in here, and he, like, what if they think he did something? I just didn't know. Like, we heard about so many wild stories, in all sides of stores, and I just was like, somebody's got to get here because it's just me and
Yeah.
the police are here, and I just kept zoning on the police, and it's terrible.
Oh my
Um,
gosh, I'm so sorry.
yeah, I'm so well about it now. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm talking about it, and I know people probably like, how is she just going? But I don't know. I'm just I don't know. But that part, they turned it around because they did come back to my door and wanted to check on the kids. They called. There's a trauma care
Wow.
portion of or
Mhm.
area in the police department, and they called and talked to me like extensively about the kids and how they could support, and it
Wow.
was so wonderful. After that initial,
Yeah.
I the I didn't recognize, but two police officers came back, and one was there that day with me, and the other was my neighbor's son-in-law. Did not even know
No
who he was.
way.
We had met him some years ago at a cookout,
Yeah.
but and I do remember that he came in a uniform at the cookout, and so that was a thing. But when he came back, I was like, I did not know. I didn't know who was there. I wouldn't recognize anybody
Yeah.
that day. But I'm so glad, and they came back to check on the kids, and it was kind of, they don't talk much. We were just standing out. Again, we can't come inside. We didn't
Yeah.
want people in the house, but we were just standing on the porch, and I'm trying to pull. It's like pulling teeth for them to answer questions, how they doing and all. But I love that show of support, just them
Yes.
coming back in uniform.
Yeah.
And so yeah, we had support from like everybody.
Wow.
Everybody, and the city was phenomenal, and just knowing how they had to operate as well,
Yeah.
it's just crazy.
In regards to planning your husband's funeral during
Yes.
that time frame, was that a challenge?
It was. We decided. I know he would want it to be buried in his hometown, so he's
Mm-hmm.
from Danville, Virginia. So we had to go. I mean, I did a lot. I think I went a couple of times, but on the phone, and I think I could send things. But it was a challenge just in getting the scheduling,
Yeah.
and let's see. It's odd that I don't remember
It's
if we.
okay.
I don't think I wore a mask, but I know. I think
Did they have restrictions on amounts of people that could
they.
come?
Yes, we had different options, so we had to. Talking about, what I told you about him.
Yeah.
We had to open it up to people. People were saying they were going to come anyway and be outside, and that's what happened. So we had a few people were inside. People just came to support, and they just were there outside.
Yeah.
Very respectful. They weren't, we hadn't gotten to the casualness of it all, like people wearing sneakers everywhere. So everyone was still dressed as best they could, I guess. And we went to the graveside,
Yeah.
and they came like in droves. I remember just looking back in the car, and like the way the street was, you could really see down the hill and curving, and it was all lights showing that they were in line for the funeral, like recessional. So that a lot of people came out, even though, so they kind of risked it to show their respect or pay their respects. Um, and then not, I don't know, I don't remember a lot of it. It's so crazy that I don't remember.
It's okay. Sometimes when we experience so much trauma and
Yes.
grief, our minds just pause until we're ready to remember a lot of it.
And I think I've chosen to just remember good times,
Yes.
and not, because I went through quite a bit and probably cried my eyes out. My good girlfriends, I remember being like taken to dinner, and I don't even remember what I ate or what, they were just talking and not really talking over, but I think they were trying to keep it light, and I just kind of don't remember. Now, I do remember seeing a fire truck that day, because me and the kids just notice, we hear it every day now, and it's just a trigger. And it used to be a bad trigger. I mean, I got to work one day and I bawled because I had just passed a fire truck, and everybody was like, "What's wrong?" Like, what? It's okay. And they were trying to not say what's wrong, but I'm like, I think that's when I recognized it was a trigger. And the kids, we were somewhere, we were eating ice cream, and we heard a fire truck, and they started looking, and just kind of seeing where it was, and I noticed, I say, they do it too.
Yeah.
We all are like very keen on
Yeah.
that sound and seeing them, but then we switched that. That's why I'm so happy. I finally recognized that it could be, I'm gonna take it as my husband's there saying, I got you. That's just a signal. He's, because of course it's Charlotte, and of course they're all the time running out. But we take it as like, I say, hey, his nickname was Snook, and I was like, hey Snook, good morning Snook. You know, we always are seeing him. So I'd say we'd be going to Shay's first game at flag football, one of her sports, and we saw him. We saw the fire truck, and I was like, well, Dad's like, he's coming to the game, you know.
Yeah.
So that was the thing, and you know, I was hoping it wasn't COVID, but it turned out to be a heart attack. So yes, a very healthy man, I thought, but and that opened the eyes of a lot of people. So that was, I mean, we had COVID happening and people, you know, hearing about all these deaths. We had a death in our family, my sister-in-law's father, which is the closest at that point. But then he, being something totally different, it just really showed our circle, like tomorrow's not promised, all the things you hear, people, we were living it. And so more awareness. I wrote down self-awareness and just awareness, and doing what we, you know, got to do. Like I said, I took my kids to New York because I'm like, we got to just live.
Yeah.
Got to be smart about, you know, being able to live when we get back home, but I need to take them and be enriched, and that's what he would want. We were doing that before he passed, so yeah.
Wow. Renee, thank you so much for sharing. I know you're in a good place, but I cannot imagine that the pain that it took to get here, and truly, I'm so sorry for your loss.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I don't mind even sharing the mental health part of it while you're saying I'm in a good place, and I love that you're a therapist, but I did a couple of therapy sessions, probably not enough. One of my groups that I said helped me, I did a grief class, grief share at a church, and that really helped a lot. So but even COVID and just being, I feel like I'm an advocate for mental health therapy, any type of talk therapy people can do. Like I said, I didn't do enough, but I'm good right now because of the little things I learned and the people I met, and a little bit of help. I will put on record. I had to, and you know, I had a little bit of help with serotonin uptake or something. I took some medicine to try to help me take the edge off, and I think my levels were way off. So
I mean, cortisol, stress, it really impacts your body.
Absolutely. Thinking about work, because I love it so much, but we went back to we had an event probably too early. We went bowling together and there was an outbreak. We had not had any issue. Nobody had been working like in the office. We were doing so well. And then we had this bowling, and I'm thinking, we had open pitchers. I think the bowling alley had just opened up. They had open pitchers of drinks, and I'm like, why aren't they doing individual drinks? And it was just kind of scary. And then we found someone there tested positive, so we had to close. That's the first time we had to close, and that was, my husband had passed, so it was 2021.
Okay.
We went through almost a year and a half, really.
Wow.
I don't remember when exactly, but yeah, that was made the wrong decision to have something. But we were so starved and wanting to, our social committee, we have a social committee at work, and they wanted to do something we thought would be easy, but we were like touching the same balls. We had, again, not individual, the spread was out and people were getting their stuff, but I didn't get COVID. I will say my coming out full circle, nor my kids haven't had COVID yet, that we know of, unless it was very, very mild and we didn't even think to test. We've tested a few times and didn't have it. And I actually didn't, acquire or get COVID until 2022, last August. And I don't know where. I'm trying to think if I figured out where. But I don't think I remember. 2022. I'm still like not remembering. So yeah, but I was like almost, I felt like patient zero at a party. I went to my friend's 50th party, and when I got home, I didn't feel well. And I'm like, wait a minute. And I had to tell them, I was like, I know how this feels. Like,
Oh no.
we had stopped kind of staying away from people. And,
Yeah.
and I had to say, oh, I got back and I didn't feel well. And my first symptoms started Sunday night, and I got home Sunday. So I had to tell them for the folks at the party.
It happens.
Yeah, it was
Glad
a
you're okay.
mild case
Yeah.
considering everything else.
Yes.
Throughout the whole thing, I did. We follow kind of doctor's orders. I trust doctors, so there are some people who are very leery. All those conspiracy theories and all that, that's stressful. I mean, you're just reading this, and then we have not dissension, but different thoughts within a family. My brother didn't believe in vaccines, period,
Yeah.
and so here I am, like, are you gonna really like not, if it gets to employment or your vaccine, are you gonna not take care of your family, not employment wise? And so we just had all those talks. But I did decide, of course, again, we followed doctor's suggestions, and I felt good about it. And I've had them all. My kids, when they were able to, got vaccinated. My son has a heart condition. It's very, he's like out of the woods. We're not under doctor's care or cardiologist care right now, but he had heart surgery when he was right before he turned 2. He had a pediatric catheterization, and so they suggest we kind of keep him. He was very what is it called, the high risk, and so we wanted to be vaccinated. We would get flu shots for the same reason, so regular flu shot, and so we were, and I feel like it's helped us. There's time to tell whether it was something bad. I hope the government wasn't doing anything vindictive, but that's in our head. It's all in our heads because people talk about all types of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can imagine.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing. Before I know,
Yes.
to honor and respect your time, is there anything else that you would like to share with us before we finish?
I don't. I think that's been really good. No, that I share. I've shared who I am, and
Yeah.
I hope people can, and it'll help remind me who I am. I hope I don't go into a different direction, but the trajectory I'm going on, I feel like I'm intelligent, I'm resourceful. I've learned throughout COVID, and again, been made, my confidence is boosted since I had tragedy within and COVID. That the silver linings have been that I realize I can manage a store. I can be very flexible. I'm usually a type A person, so and I'm just hoping to continue. And I love this project. I will say I'm thankful that to be able to archive it and to just record, because I wouldn't have done it on my own. And so hopefully it's helpful in
Thank you, Renée.
the research.
Thank you.
Yeah.
You are so strong, so resilient. You have come out strong through so much.
Yeah.
So much during the last few years, and to just see the way that you love your children, and the way that
Thank you.
love those that you work with, and the services you provide. Thank you for all that you do, Renée, and for who you are.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Appreciate you sharing your story.
Yes. I will say I'll dedicate the talk to my husband and his honor and his memory, and that's why I'm strong. I've been getting progressively better because of him since I met him, and so I do feel like I can get through anything. So thank you.
I love that. Thank you.
Appreciate it.